There seems to be quite a lot of reversals happening lately. We saw a reversing of the situation in Venezuela a few weeks back, and now this weekend we're seeing quite a reversal in the country of Iran. Now, these reversals are going to keep on happening. Mexico is in a bit of a mess at the moment, but that situation will change. And many other countries are going to follow, including the country that you are in. But I specifically want to talk about one type of reversal, which I've touched on quite recently, and that is the reversal of people who are planning you harm. They want to curse you, I suppose we could say. But in the end, they're actually going to be forced to bless you and honour you. Now, this may be from a very high level, at the very highest levels of governments in your world, or it might be a very personal situation with you and someone else or some other people, enemies who just wish to harm you for whatever reason. Welcome to the channel. Today is the 1st of March 2026. We're already into the third month of the year. How time flies. Okay, reversals. Now, in the book of Numbers, chapters 22 to 24, we see a situation where Balak, who is the king of the Moabites, he is afraid of God's people because they keep growing. He's afraid of the Israelites. They just keep producing and they're getting larger in number and larger and larger. And he is concerned. So he calls on Balaam, the diviner, and he requests that Balaam will curse God's people for him. So he sends some of his people to approach Balaam, and you can read the whole story from in chapters 22 to 24. But to cut a long story short, Balaam eventually goes, he meets the king, and the king takes him to three specific locations where he wants, well, the first one, he takes him and he says, right, curse the Israelites for me from this location. But God intervenes and Balaam cannot curse God's people. He's actually forced to bless them. Balak gets angry, but he thinks to himself, okay, I'll take Balaam to another location and get him to curse God's people from there. They go to the second location and the same thing happens. Rather than a curse, a blessing is pronounced. And it happens a third time. And it happens purely because God divinely intervened and clearly told Balaam, you will not curse my people. You will bless them. And they were blessed indeed. But then we see another situation in the book of Esther, which I find quite interesting because Purim is, what, one day away? But in the book of Esther, it's well known that Esther was raised up for such a time as the time that she was in. There was a man called Haman, a Persian, and he hated the Jews. And he specifically hated Mordecai, who was Esther's uncle. He hated him so much that he actually built a gallows, and he intended to get the king's approval to hang Mordecai on these gallows. So I just want to read a few verses to you from Esther chapter 6, just to paint a little bit of the picture for you. Esther 6, verse 1. That night the king could not sleep, so one was commanded to bring the book of the records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, the doorkeepers who had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. Then the king said, "What honour or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" And the king's servants who attended him said, "Nothing has been done for him." So the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to suggest that the king hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. The king's servants said to him, "Haman is there, standing in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king asked him, "What shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honour?" See, the king wants to honour someone. Now, Haman, being full of arrogance and pride, he obviously thinks, "Oh, the king's going to honour me." Now, Haman thought in his heart, "Whom would the king delight to honour more than me?" And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delights to honour, let a royal robe be brought which the king has worn, and a horse on which the king has ridden, which has a royal crest placed on its head. Let this robe and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that he may array the man whom the king delights to honour. Then parade him on horseback through the city square, and proclaim before him, 'Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honour.'" See, the person that's going to be honoured is going to be wearing a robe that the king has worn, and he's going to be riding on a horse that the king has ridden. Very high honour indeed. Then the king said to Haman, "Hurry, take the robe and the horse as you have suggested." Haman, you suggested this. "And do so for Mordecai the Jew, who sits within the king's gate. Leave nothing undone of all that you have spoken." And the story goes on. Haman had no choice. He planned to curse, to cause great harm to Mordecai. He fully expected to see Mordecai hanging on those gallows that he had built himself. And a little bit later on in that story, after Haman honours and blesses Mordecai by having the robe put on him, Mordecai's put on the horse, and Haman has to parade him through the city, giving honour to him, which obviously is a great blessing, which came directly from the king. Not long after that, Haman was hung on the very gallows that he had built for Mordecai. There are people in your life that plan harm for you, plan to curse you in some way, whether they're just jealous, whether they hate you. Regardless, they plan harm for you and for God's people. But God in this season is saying, "No, you will not curse my people. You will bless them. and you will honour them. Friends, whether you believe this or not, your enemies are going to honour and bless you. And this can happen in a number of ways, like I say, from very high level to from the elites who have stored up massive wealth. Well, that's coming to you, and something else is coming to them. Freedom. Now, we just talked about Venezuela and Iran, and it's going to happen in other countries. You're going to be blessed with freedom. There are certain people that want to keep you trapped forever, a slave. But you're going to be blessed. They're going to be forced to set you free. And then, once again, something is coming to them. And as I've mentioned in the past, there is hidden technologies which these elites have been using for themselves to benefit themselves. Great healings, things that you can't imagine, but they've been around for a long time, that will get rid of practically anything, any ailment that has come upon you. You'll be blessed with these technologies. And it's coming, friends. You will see with your own eyes your enemies being forced to bless and honour you. And think about the very end. Every knee will bow before the Lord Jesus Christ, including the enemies of God. Their knee will bow. They will bless and honour the Lord. And then they are taken to their eternal destination. And it won't be a good place. So take heart, friends. There's a lot of good things happening right now, and there's a lot of good things coming. So until next time, God bless you abundantly, and I am fully expectant that He will bless you abundantly. Bye-bye for now.